Well, here we go, guys. Everybody was wanting a little tutorial on the basics of building an accurate CMA price, comparative market analysis. So we decided to put one together here for those who missed the live presentation. We wanted to do a recording for you and talk to you a little bit. How are we coming about these prices? Because we're seeing prices all over the board, and I see a lot of houses that really aren't priced correctly, and it makes me wonder what steps they're going through to come up with these prices. So I think, what you need to do is basically, I think a lot of people, they'll see a home that's almost identical to another home, so you assume that that other house is the same price. A particular home sold for $511,000, and the home next door was the exact same MI Bordeaux model, the same bedroom bath configuration, maybe flipped, both with a pool, both on a conservation lot. And you say to yourself, well, if this one just sold for $511,000, well, the one next door certainly must be worth $511,000. That's wrong. I think I'm going to show in a few examples over here exactly why that's wrong and what precautions you need to take when you're doing a market analysis. Step number one, when the prospect calls you and is interested in possibly moving, go to the house. Print the tax rolls, print some pertinent information, maybe the old MLS when they bought the home 10 years ago. Print it, bring it with you, go to the home and verify. Make sure they haven't done any additions to the house, or check out the condition of the house. Ask some questions. How old is the roof, Mr. Seller? Look around. Take a look. See if there's pride of ownership. Have they done any renovations to the property? Go to home. Find out how old the AC is on the house. These are very pertinent and very expensive. I know a lot of my buyers, the first question they ask when they're interested in a home is how old is the roof and how old is the AC? And if they're at the end of their life expectancy on a 3,500 square foot, two-story house, example, because I just recently had a roof done on one, the air conditioning units, A to Z, top to bottom, were $10,000 each for a high-quality unit. That's $20,000, and the roof was $14,000. So there's $34,000 that you're expecting a buyer to immediately invest in a home. If they paid full retail value of $511,000, they're upside down simply by putting a new roof on the house. So there's adjustments that have to be made. Just because a home looks similar, there's reasons why we preview. We preview that home so we can get pertinent information so we can adjust the comps. And one thing I want to mention here is never adjust the subject. I always adjust the comparable properties to match the subject. So we talk about, does the home have pets? The crazy dog there running around in circles, that makes it difficult to sell a home. If the people have cats and you have a cat litter problem, if the age of the roof, the age of the AC, how does the landscaping look? Has the home been updated? These are factors that need to be considered when creating a market analysis home. So, I'm looking at 3 homes here, and this is very common in areas like North Tampa, where there's a lot of new construction that was built. And I know, like in the back section of Cheval and the Chardonnay section, for example, MI had that section. So they had a lot of Bordeaux's. And I'm familiar with that model, and I want to use that as an example here. There's 3 Bordeaux homes. They're 5-bedroom, 3-bath homes with a pool, conservation, virtually side by side is something very common that you would see in a community like Cheval. Maybe the floor plans would be flipped. But if house A sold for $511,000, would that mean that house B and C, the same floor plan, would be worth $511,000? One was built in the year 2000, one was built in 1998, one was built in 2003 as they developed that section in Chardonnay. Would they be worth the same? Well, now let's consider this. We're in 2019, and the second tier, if you'll see underneath there, is that house that sold for $511,000 had the original roof, the original air conditioning, and it was completely updated. The seller went in and remodeled the bathrooms, they remodeled the kitchen. There's beautiful travertine floors, hardwood floors. The pool's got pavers on it. It's just in spectacular condition, but it has the original roof and the original AC. But that house next door, I'm trying to put a value on that house next door. It's got a brand new roof and a brand new AC, but it's got all the original Formica, the original carpet, and the plain Jane house. And yeah, gosh, just comparing those two, it would have been nice if the one next door would have had a new roof and a new AC. That would have made things easy. And then you go over if the person 2 doors down needed a market analysis, they've got a new roof, but the original AC. And it's all updated and remodeled like A, but maybe not to the quality of it. Maybe they use some those planks that look like tile, and it looks good, but it wasn't quite done to that travertine and real hardwood floors of House A. So we've got some decisions here to make. We've got some adjustments we need to make, and everybody does it a little bit different. On a home like this, I typically will take a kitchen remodel. I'll give it about 65-70% of the value. So let's just say on the low end, if they spent $20,000 on it, I'll give them about $15,000 in an adjustment up. If the roof is relatively new, I would give it 70% of that value if the roof is less than 2 years old. By the way, on the smaller bathrooms, I'll typically give 100% of value on that. But bathrooms, masters, about the same level. The master is a kitchen. The AC units, about 65% of the overall cost. Pool, that could vary from home to home. Lot, builders charge a premium. So don't forget to look at those lots and see if it's a premium lot. In this particular instance, it's the same lot. But if you were doing a home, for instance, that were very similar, and one of the houses were backed up to a wall and one of them was on a conservation and one of them backed up to another home, you've got some adjustments to make there too. So look at the overall condition, the flooring, the paint, how well, look at the pride of ownership. How well do the people maintain the home? These are factors. These are buyers are going to notice things as soon as they walk in. If they've got a strong pet odor or if somebody really maintains that, it's important information. So I'm looking at these houses here just as an adjustment, and I just gave you an example of how I would do the basic adjustments on these houses. The new roof in January of 2019 on home B, cost was $14,000. If that would have been a one-story house, that cost would have been substantially higher, but because it's two-story, there was less surface, which reason why it's only $14,000. 70% of $14,000 is $9,800. Two new AC units at $10,000 each. In March of 2018, I'm going to give them 70% of that. I'm going to give them $14,000. It's not updated, and the renovation cost compared to the one next door, they spent $80,000. Now consider that for the buyer to match that now, they're going to have to spend the full retail amount of $80,000. So I give 100% of that value. So the value of $511 plus the $26,000 minus $80, I would probably price this house around $460, $470 in this example, with the one next door being $511. I would encourage these people, if they got an offer of $455, $460, I would tell them to take it. And then you take house C, it had a new roof in December of 18. It cost of $14,000. I'm giving them 70% of that, $9,800. The original AC, full cost of that, $20,000. You got to put that on the red side. The owner spent less than renovations on this one, like we had talked about earlier. So I made the adjustments there, and because of the new roof, I gave them probably because it was renovated, which is a high value on that. That's probably going to be $529, $539. If the owner got an offer in the 520s, I would probably strongly encourage him to take it. I could make some other adjustments based on pool paver, size of the pool, how nice the lanai is. The screen enclosure might be bigger, but I'm just trying to give you some basic outlines here, how to do these types of adjustments. You have to do the math and make these adjustments and be prepared to explain in detail the results to the homeowner. You've got to use homes within the same neighborhood, preferably that sold in the last 6 or 8 months, because that's what an appraiser is going to do. If the market is slowing or flat and you can't really find comps, it is okay to go back for a year. but use similar comps. I see agents seeing they're doing a market analysis on a 2,500 square foot house, and or a 3,500 square foot house. They use a 2,500 square foot comp. An appraiser's not going to use that. I mean, come on, guys. Try to stay in the same community. Try to stay in the same school zip. I like to check Zillow and RPR values because the client already knows their Zestimate, and if you're higher or lower, you have to be able to explain how you came up with your value and why it's different than Zillow, because these knucklehead consumers actually believe Zillow and they think Zillow is legit, and you want to be able to check that. And what I love about Cloud CMA, the one we use in our office, is it does show you the Zestimate of the actives and the solds and what they actually sold for, so consumers can actually see the percentage of what Zillow is in their neighborhood as far as accuracy. So, the rules are pick a similar home that are active, that have sold, stay in the general area, be conscious of the time of sale, make your adjustments, go with your gut. There's a big bonus for points that are like really immaculate, show like new, because buyers just eat that up. And remember to know the Zillow and RPR values as measuring sticks as to what's going on in that community. Always recognize the values of homes are always changing. And guys, do your homework. I mean, these people on a $500,000 house, they're paying you a substantial commission. I mean, don't try to wing through the CMA. And I mean, if they knew how quick some agents just kind of hit a few buttons and print a CMA and then they show up at the house and they're there, these people are really trying to make an educated decision and get a high quality realtor. Don't betray the confidence that they're showing in you by doing a halfway job on the presentation. I know that when we do them in the office, Mark Hauser, he's here every day. Mark's been somebody that I respect, and a lot of times I'll do a market analysis and I won't tell Mark the price that I came up with, and I give him the scenario and I have Mark just pull at a glance just to make sure that I'm right. And if it's off, we discuss it, and I make sure with some of the veterans that we have in the office that the information is correct. And I like to write those handwritten notes inside the CMA before I bind it. Sellers love to see that you didn't just download and print a report, that you actually did your homework and studied it and came up with the highest number without overpricing their home. There's 3 homes and 3 different values. You usually get, once when you're pulling up to these houses to do a market analysis, sometimes you pull up and you go, oh my God, this house is gorgeous. Please be that house. Please be that house. And that's the house. And I love it when you hit those, you hit a home run. And you got house number 2, which is the average home that's been maintained. That people take good care of it. They live in it. You're going to have to go in there and do some coaching. You're going to have to do some staging. You're going to have to encourage them to do a few things to really make that home sell and to be able to get the money that they want to get out of it. And then there's home number 3, the disaster. This is the guy with 2 broken down cars in the driveway, the grass that's, hasn't been cut in 3 weeks. He's got a broken down, rusted out barbecue grill in the front. He's got 5 dogs running around, 20 cats. The house reeks of kitty litter and dog urine. And that guy's going to want the same amount of money. Hey, my neighbor that sold for $511, 2 doors down, I've got the same house. My house is worth $511. That idiot is going to think that his house is worth the exact same as the house 2 doors down. And to that, I say, welcome to the world of real estate, because that's the reality that we deal with, is having to educate these people as to why their home is not worth as much as the neighbor down the street. So, I always always preach about absorption rates here in the office, and there's a reason why I want you to know these formulas over here is, in the past 365, know the absorption rate, number one, know what it is. If in the past 365 days, if 120 houses had sold in this community, and today that community has 30 houses for sale, the absorption rate calculation is the average time it takes a home in a community to sell. So how long would it take to absorb those 30 homes? Well, if 10 of them are selling on average a month per slide A, and there's 30, and you assume that no new homes are going to hit the market and no houses are going to expire or withdraw, using this famous, basic formula, 30, so the absorption rate is going to be 90 days on this particular home because they're selling at a rate of 10 houses a month, and it's going to take 3 months for the community based on the year before to absorb those houses. So it's important to know that. Why is it important to know about that? Because absorption rates are key in factoring pricing on how you're going to price that home. I remember in 2008, 2009, real estate agents weren't selling any houses, and that was the year I was #1 in the world with ERA. And I was educating my consumers on absorption rates, and we were pricing our homes in front of all the other houses that were for sale because the market was in a sharp decline. So there were people that would do smaller price reductions, and that people would lose these houses to foreclosure. You know, I have a rule where if it's 60 days or less, I'll price that as an average price point, and I won't really try to push and cheat the market at all, but I'll hold firm knowing that that's a good price. If it's over 60 days, 70, 80, 90 days, that's time to get in front of the curve in that particular area, be a little bit more aggressive on pricing and price it maybe at the bottom of your CMA. And if it's less than 30 days, you can expect a fast sale. Don't be afraid to push the envelope a little bit and try to get extra money for your property and price it at the top of your CMA. So that's why it's important, because a 2 or 3% amount on $1 million home is $20,000 to $30,000 extra on $1 million sale that you could get for your seller just by understanding the absorption rates. So no. You know, in conclusion, and I don't want to make this too long, I just wanted to kind of give you a basic overview of it. But, you know, if you price your homes right, they're going to sell. If they're overpriced, it's just going to be your future expired listings. So price it right, the buyers come, you overprice it, it's just a dead carcass on the side of the road, and those buzzards that you see flying around there are just going to come eat it up, and there's going to be another real estate agent. They're going to call next, somebody like me that knows how to price it, and I'm going to come in, and it's going to make you sick when you see my for sale sign hit it after you've had it for 8 months, and then I put my for sale sign out there, and in a couple of weeks you'll see the sale pending. So that's what's, you know, make sure you're not trying to win friends over here. You're trying to give them an honest assessment of value, and they might be nice and they might need more money, but you're not doing them a favor by pushing up a price that you know you're realistically not going to get. I like to think that the right price of a home is when a seller thinks that you sold it a little bit. You know, everybody thinks, the buyer always thinks that they paid too much, seller thinks they sold it. So I like to say the right price is a seller who thinks you sold it a little too cheap, combined with a buyer who thinks he paid a little bit too much. That's probably exactly what the house is worth when you get those kind of reactions from your buyer and seller at the closing table. All right, guys, I hope this helped you out. I hope this gives you a little bit more insight on how to do a CMA. There's a lot more adjustments for you newbies. This will give you a basic insight on some of the adjustments you need to be making in your CMA. And of course, you know I'm in the office 24/7, able to help you if you're stuck or you got a tough one to do. You know, just reach out, call me 813-846-2368, shoot me a text, and you know that I'm here at this office virtually 7 days a week to help you guys. Thanks a lot. Here on